Welcome back to the Wanderpreneur Show, everybody. Today I have my friend Jenn, who is from upstate New York, and she is here to help us with getting in tune with our spiritual side of ourselves, because we all know that there's different energies, like the feminine side and the masculine side, and you have to have a harmony in order to, pursue your dreams and actually reach your goals and live out that life that you want to, so you can wander more.
Hi, man. Welcome to the Wanderless Wandermore Show with your host, Christy Candelario, a movement for life, for freedom in life. Watch ya. Wanderless, Wandermore, expert advices for sure. Wanderless, Wandermore, helping you become an entrepreneur. Wanderless, Wandermore, travel around the world, let us go explore. Wanderless, Wandermore, expert advices for sure. Come and be guided and supported by this podcast show. With enough insight just to help you grow. Special guest experts, business adventures about great lifestyles and so much more. Launching, transforming and leveling up businesses globally since 2012. Stay tuned and wander less so you can wander more.
So Jenn, tell us about yourself. I guess first off, I should let y'all know how I met Jenn. So Jenn found me through my Wanderless, Wander More Summit that I did back in November, because I kind of thought at the time podcast shows would be a little too hard to create, even though that was pretty intense to launch out the summit in like a month unplanned. So she found me through there, I believe. Maybe she found me before then. And then I was in her summit, which was about like female entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And we just been in touch since then. And I'm actually probably going to meet her this month because it's March. So that will be exciting because she's coming to our area. She's going to go to Wimberley, Texas, which if you haven't heard, that's like a pretty cool place to go and travel. It's in Central Texas. It's really close to the smallest town in Texas, which is Luckenbach, which is basically like a bar and a dance hall. And all the bikers go there, and there's so many bands and so many cool things to do in Luckenbach. I think the population's like 12, maybe 10. I don't know. But it's super tiny. So it's like a destination on the map in Texas. And then, of course, like 30 minutes past Luckenbach, there's Fredericksburg, and you can go to Enchanted Rock, which is super pretty and wonderful to go and see. Jenn also does yoga, so that'd be a really cool place to go and take some really cool photos. You should go at like sunset or something. And then it's also by Canyon Lake. That's where my husband Brad and I always hang out. We're always on our boat and having fun out there with friends and whatnot. And then there's like New Braunfels and Green, which is another small Texas kind of filled town. Like this area is so different than what you would expect from San Antonio and Austin. It's right in the middle of both of those airports, and it's super cool to come and check out. So if you are interested in visiting Texas, that's a pretty cool place to go. But we're going to get back to the show because we got some real stuff to talk about. So Jenn, tell us about yourself and, everything that you do.
So I'm really, really happy to be here with you guys. So what I do is I am a spiritual mentor and a sacred business coach. So I teach people how to get in tune with their life purpose and to make their business from that place, and then to develop messaging around that. So that's what I do as far as the business side. And then my own kind of like spiritual outlet is my brand is called the Soul-Filled Yogi. And with that, I do all sorts of spiritual courses. I do ebooks. I do whatever I feel led to do, which some months is more than others, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. I just came out of a summit that I created about female entrepreneurship. And people that kind of have some sort of spiritual feeling to their business, whether they know it or not. So I kind of handpicked these people. Some of them have that alignment and they don't even realize it. Like, Christy, you are like so about manifestation and you didn't even know it. Like the first time we started talking, I was like, you got that, you have it. So I kind of like chose these women based on whether it be outward spirituality or something that they have that's inward that maybe they didn't know they had. and then all sorts of other crazy stuff during that same month. So as we were talking, I launched like 3 courses. I made like 20 ebooks. I was just kind of like riding the wave of creation and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, I would have to say that you are totally a creator. How many courses do you have? I feel like you have at least like a dozen or something.
Oh my gosh. I launched 3 last month. I have an additional 1.
Like, who does that? Who has time to launch 3 courses? I don't know that many people that like crank out as much courses and content as you. There's not that many people out there.
It's like literally like I just ride the wave, you know? It was like I knew it was time and I was being led to do that. And so I was just plugging away and, you know, at my computer and writing the stuff. And it's kind of a divine process. Like it's not even like a mind, like it's not even like a mindful thing. It's like intuitive. So it's just my hands are on the keys and I'm just like letting it go. Some people like call it, what is it? It's like divine writing, basically.
Oh yeah.
So you just kind of go and see where it goes. And, you know, that particular month, it was like on fire. I was like, okay, Spirit, now I'm getting tired. Please, are we done yet? My fingers are going to break off.
Exactly. Yeah, no, there's people that will like plan out and test the market to make sure the market wants this course or this idea or whatever. And then you have those creative people like yourself and even me, where like we don't really test the market. We know there is something there because our intuition's telling us to do it. And we just start creating and it works out. My mentor, one of my mentors, she put together this awesome course and people started asking her, because she's at like a really big top level, and people started asking her, you know, like, did you test your market? Do you know if there's something there? And she's like, no, God, the universe, myself, I was told to create this, so I did. It's gonna work out. Yeah. And they're like, well, this is pretty major. This is taking up so much time. And she's like, look, it's gonna work out. I know it is. And it did. It's working out awesome, and it keeps growing and growing. And like the same thing with me, like nobody, like there's a lot of things that I've done in my business where I didn't really test the market. I didn't do that much research or make those like strategies based off of, you know, the masculine side. And we'll have to talk about that because I know there's people watching going, what the hell is Christy and Jen talking about? Energies. I pay my electric bill every month. But not that kind of energy. But whenever I started doing things and I just, you know, had the idea and decided to create, those were the things that always worked out, like my mastermind, because at the time, like my audience wasn't that big. My email list, my social rating, all that kind of stuff, it was not that big. And when I launched my mastermind, people were like, well, good luck. Like you may get 1 to 3 people in it. And I'm like, no, I really feel like I'm going to have 5 to 8. Like that's what I want. I don't know the exact number, but I'll know when I talk to these people. And I have my mastermind filled with 7 incredible people that are literally my dream clients, exact dream clients, like on the spot. And people are like, wow, you did that? I'm like, yeah, I told you didn't have to have the big audience. You didn't have to have, you know, thousands and thousands, because there was something about how I needed to have at least 1,000. And I'm like, well, I mean, I have over 1,000 on Instagram followers, but that's not the same thing as like my Facebook group or my email list and that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, the people that were from the more masculine side, the strategy, the logic, thinking, all that kind of stuff, they were like, wow, you did this. So I think it's important that, you know, you have that right balance. And, you know, this podcast show is about the lifestyle harmony. And that's kind of like where we're touching on and how to influence your business by this kind of stuff. Jen, do you want to kind of explain the difference between the 2 energy sources?
Yeah, too. So there's kind of like these 2 different things going on, right? Okay, so you got the masculine side and the feminine side. And the masculine side of business is really, it's like you said, that like very logical, very step driven, usually market research, you know, that type of a thing. And you start out and you say, okay, what is a problem? What is something that, you know, isn't being served like in my target market, right? Where is my niche, you know? And so you go at it from that perspective, and it's very top down, you know, it's very, here's what I'm going to create. Here's the steps. and I'm climbing the ladder, right? And you do all those steps to get to that place. And then the feminine side is very intuitive and very like divinely led. So the masculine, if you want to think about it in this kind of a perspective, is like the earth and grounding, right? So it's a very stable, very flat line type of an energy. Okay, so if you want to let's bring in chakras. Why not? We're going to talk about chakras for a few seconds. So you have these different areas in your body that have more dense energy than other areas. Okay, so if you want to think about these as little circles, we'll think about them as circles. And you have these circles of energy, right? They're imaginary, guys. You can't see the circles, okay? And if you look at chakras, you'll see a bunch of colors and circles. They don't really exist. It's just energy inside of your body, right? All of our cells are moving. We know that we are made of energy. It's scientific, okay? It's a fact. So we have these areas in our body that have energy that are moving kind of more quick than other areas. So like you know, your arms, they're kind of slow moving, but inside your heart, pretty fast moving, okay? So from your feet all the way up through the crown of your head and a bunch more, there's about more than 100 that we could, you know, get into, but there's a basic 7. So down at the base of your spine is your root chakra, and down through your feet is an earth star chakra, okay? These are the things that ground you down into the earth. The earth is stable energy, your basic needs, food, shelter, water, safety, love, okay? So those are the things that covers, and it's a masculine energy, right? Because if you're in like a fight or flight state and you're trying to like get what you need to survive, you want to think about that. That is like a masculine thing to do, right? Who were the people that went out as like the hunters and the people that protected their wife and kids to survive, to make, you know, a population? The men. Mm-hmm. So you have this like masculine side, which is very adrenaline based, very grounded and have to be the stable ones. Very, this is the plan. This is how we're going about this. And then you have the other side, which is like airy and fluid. And these are the higher up chakras that tend to be the more feminine things. And the higher up chakras are connected to your universal guidance and spirit. Okay. So your intuition, that feeling that you get, you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be here, or oh my gosh, I should be here, or holy crap, I'm just writing and I don't even know why I'm doing it. That is feminine stuff. So it's not a game plan. It's not a side that has a game plan. It's very, I'm going with this feeling that's moving me towards something. And then sometimes that feminine side decides to like back up and say, okay, now I'm going to do market research. So that's what I do. When I work, I'm working more in the feminine. I'm going with the flow of energy. And that kind of intuition is bringing me towards a certain point. And then I tend to backtrack a little bit to find that balance. And I say, hey, let me do the market research now. Why not? But feminine energy also works with, you know, because that's the business side, right? You're like, oh, I probably should do it at some point. But feminine energy really works with the law of attraction and this just momentum, right? So like what you were saying, you know, you just created these things and people were telling you, you have to do this, 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 and this to be successful. And you said, no, I'm riding the wave, man. And I'll do that stuff when I get back if I want to. But I know in my heart that what I'm creating is filling a hole that somebody needs. And I want 7 people, you know, or however many. And you set that intention out there without ever doubting, and that came your way. So bringing manifestation into your business can be extremely powerful, and then finding that balance between feminine and masculine, because it creates this nice momentum and allows you to put something out into the universe that you have no doubt around, because doubt is basically the opposite of everything that's energy. Fear and doubt are the lowest vibrations, and we want to stay up in the high vibrations, which is basically love, joy, peace, trust, faith, all of those things that allow us to feel good. Fear and doubt don't feel good. And when we put things out that don't feel good, the universe is like, she doesn't really need anything more because she doesn't really understand all the good that she has now. It's being in a place of gratitude or being in a place of lack. So bringing this stuff into your business is like everything. It really is, because it supports everything that you want to do in your desires when you back it up with this stuff. And you say, okay, I'm trusting the universe has got my back, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so what I'm getting at is that the masculine side is very, very goal driven versus the feminine side, which is like purpose and passion driven. And that's another thing. So what I've noticed, like with my clients, because I mean, in the past, I didn't really focus on this stuff, but then I had to realize that, okay, when I get a new client, I need to kind of identify whether they're operating from the masculine side or the feminine side, because you have to have that harmony in between. And I feel like the ones with the masculine side, they don't know how to manifest. They don't know how to really get to that level where they are up leveling their business, because it's a whole like mind shift. It's like, it's crazy. I don't even know how to explain it.
To put it really simply, the masculine side is self-propelled. It's coming from you and your will to do something, and your force. Sometimes this is why we can't stay there very long, because force is also fear.
Yeah.
And the feminine side is very guided and supported. Right? So we, instead of forcing and being self-propelled, which sometimes we have to do, right, to get actions done, we have to be self-motivated. But if we're guided in the steps that we're taking, that's where the balance is. It doesn't come from us, right?
Yeah.
It comes from something else.
Yeah. It does.
And that's your purpose.
Yeah. And then on the feminine side, like when I have my clients that come from a very powerful side of that, I feel like sometimes they get their emotions too involved, and it's important to also learn how to handle those stuff, definitely when you're an entrepreneur, so you can know how to manage the rest of your areas of your lives. I feel like when you're not stepping up into your true feminine power with the manifesting and that kind of stuff, you're kind of in that place where you tend to think a lot and do less. If that makes sense. So you're thinking of like, and that's another thing, like with the fear on the feminine side, you're thinking so much about every single outcome out there. There's like 2 good outcomes and there's like 1 million bad outcomes. Maybe not that many, maybe like 100. But you start to think, and like that's your, like when you bring in the masculine side, I feel like they're bringing in like the analyzing that even further, which is bad, because here we are and we're thinking way too much and we're letting our emotions get in.
Yeah.
And when you're at that state and you're building your life, and like not just even being an entrepreneur. I mean, I have one of my very close friends, she is very feminine side, and my saying for her was always think less, do more. Like I tell her this, I tell her this all the time. I even got it on a box and I gave it to her when she graduated college, and it said think less, do more. I'm like, you got life.
When you need this, look at this box.
Yeah, I'm like, don't get rid of it. But it's true, like you have to be able to take the action when you are operating from that. And I feel like it's very important for you to identify where you're at and kind of focus on building up, not necessarily your weakness. I don't want to call it your weakness, but like bringing up whatever that side is so you can operate with that harmony, because you don't want to be off balance. I don't really believe in true balance, because I mean, let's believe
it's not,
like it's, no one's perfect. We're not gonna have
human
balance. But like the harmony of it, like you have to have that, like you're saying the wave, like ride the wave of life, of course. And like, I think that's so important to touch on, because there's a lot of people that don't even know what the energy sources are. And we're just going through life going, what the hell is next? Kind of thing, like, how the shit did I get here? You know, like, what is wrong with me? What am I doing for the rest of my life? And that's even a serious question. So we won't even get into that one.
Yeah.
But those energy sources are 2 very important things to help you move on throughout your life. And maybe we should talk about like how to incorporate those when it is going into what you love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just kind of reiterate, you know, like that structure is needed because we're human, you know, so that masculine side is like needed because we're very much like walking a human walk, right? Like we need the structure. We crave structure. For some reason, we put everything in structure, right? It's everywhere. It's literally in everything we do. We say, okay, these are the steps. You know, our government has a structure. We need structure, right? Or we need the idea of structure, right? Because we want to think we have some sort of control.
Yeah.
So we need the structure. Like you don't want to like you said, it's about creating this harmony of knowing like, hey, I've been acting really masculine. I think I'm going to move it towards the feminine to find a little bit of balance. So if you're too much in structure, you say, hey, okay, let me just kind of move over. And when we look at things, like we don't want to look at it in terms of like good or bad, right? Because good or bad is a judgment, right? It's a perception that we create. And that also is based out of fear, right? Like I've been bad, right? That's a place of fear. So we don't look at this as a place of like, this is good or this is bad. It's just, hey, I'm over here and I'd like to get over here sometime soon, you know? So some of the things that can be really nice to do is to just kind of do some self-reflecting and maybe just slow down, right? Because we often move really fast, especially entrepreneurs. We're like, okay, I'm on the roll, you know, even me.
Hustle.
Even when I'm divinely riding the wave, man, it can be really quick. And so the way that we figure out what is needed for the next steps is by slowing down. And that process only happens with the slowing down. Because when we slow down, that's when we can reflect. That's when we can open up. That's when we can empty out all the things that we've been filling up on, right? Which is a lot of things. Like we're on our Instagram, we're on our, social media, we're on a lot of things. So when we empty out, we can easily see, okay, I've been hanging out in masculine. I want to move into feminine. And then if you're somebody that meditates, it's a perfect time to do that. And then you could say, okay, universe, let me know what it is that I need to do to move over here. And, sometimes you'll get an answer and sometimes you won't. And I like to say that no answer is an answer in itself, so pay attention to that too. But a lot of times if you meditate on this stuff and you slow down enough, sometimes you can just begin to get bits and pieces. And very like beginner place to start with spirituality is slowing down and meditating. Just see what you get. And you might hear something, right? It might be like, time to slow down. And then, okay, and now you get to listen to it or choose not to, right? And choosing not to is like, I like to think of it like there are a bunch of different paths, okay? And one path is like the best path. It is like going to bring you to that, like, we talk about like traveling and wandering. Like it's going to bring you to that place that like you are like, man, that place is the most beautiful place I've ever been. Maybe there's like a waterfall there, it's like glorious, right? That's path one. And when you meditate, you hear something and that's going to bring you towards that path. It's like, slow down. Okay, I'm going to slow down. I chose to slow down. Now I'm on the best path. Or you can choose otherwise. And those paths aren't bad. They are just other paths, right? So when you slow down, you're able to reflect and kind of get some sort of guidance or just see what you can pick up that's going to lead you down the best path. And you say, okay, I've realized through meditation or slowing down or journaling, whatever it is, all of those things are equally as great, or whatever it is for you. Maybe it's like coloring, people are super into coloring right now, go color. So, if that's a way that you can slow down and realize like, hey, I've been leading with a lot of the masculine, now let me get over to the feminine. And then you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? How do I do that? Right? So there are multiple different things that you could bring in to move yourself from one to the other, right? So one of the easiest things, if you've been in the feminine, go outside, put your feet on the ground. That's going to actually bring you that grounded energy. And though we think of like Mother Nature, it's a very stable, safety, stability type of a feeling. So it tends to feel more masculine. So if you're in the feminine and you're like overthinking everything, you can't make a freaking decision to save your life, right? Like we get like that when we're over there because we're all heady, right? We're like, nee. So, it's like so many thoughts. It's ping-ponging in your head. We call it the monkey mind, right? If you're monkey minding, take yourself out of it, go put your feet on the ground. And just put your hands to your feet and push your feet down into the ground. It's going to let that energy balance out so you get out of your head and you're getting into something physical and tangible. Your thoughts aren't physical or tangible, right? So when you put your feet on the ground, that's something you can feel, you can sense. It brings you back to humanness.
So
right?
you're like talking about like walking on the grass or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, like, go outside, walk, and take your shoes off. Like, take your shoes off. Feel what the ground feels like. It's an easy way to snap out of your headspace and into your physical, you know, very tactical, action-based person. Okay. So now if you're in the space of being, you know, super masculine, one of the things I like to talk about is crystals, right? So that's a really simple thing that you could kind of bring in, and the higher up vibration crystals like amethyst and quartz and those type of things. Moonstone is super great, right? Because the moon links us to that feminine side. You can use any of those things and you can just hold them and you can sit and just be like meditative. But there are tons of other things, like if you're like crystals, I don't know about that woo-woo stuff, you know, because sometimes people are like, I don't really believe in it, but you will eventually.
I was one of them. Like, I was like, what the shit is this stuff?
Yeah.
What is people talking about?
I used to be like that too. And you know what? Like, the more we experience and the more we just have our walk of life, I feel like we all find ourselves towards those things, because let's face it, life is like pretty real sometimes, right? And we're all going to have points in our life that, although they make amazing stories when we're out of it, when we're in it, we're reaching for anything, right? And so a lot of the spiritual stuff tends to come in at those kind of critical turning points in our stories, because we're like, I will do anything, you know, if like holding this like crystal is going to make me maybe somehow feel more supported, I'll do it. And then it's like, oh man, that actually did work, you know, like you get out of it and you're like, whoa, something's going on there, you know, or if it's something else. Yeah, it's in it, and it's really simple. Like, if you want to think about crystals, like, you know, it's just energy. The same thing that is existing inside of our body because our cells are moving. The earth had energy, heat. Let's think of it as heat. You think of a volcano, right? When a volcano erupts, that's heat, that's energy. And when that stuff comes out, it solidifies and makes a rock. It makes a crystal. Okay. So really simple, like scientific, this, you know, this exists. It was something that was created with energy. So it's as simple as that. It's literally just energy. And when you bring it in, it can shift your energy, because you are an energetic field too. Crystal's energetic field, you're an energetic field. When you bring something else into your energetic field, you can shift it. Think about giving somebody a hug. When somebody's energy is a certain way and your energy field comes to their energy field and you give them a hug, their energy field starts to shift. They start to feel better.
Yeah.
It's very basic, super basic.
Yeah,
so you can,
talking about the crystal real fast. I feel like sometimes there's people that don't know where to buy the right kind of crystal or stuff like that. So do you want to touch on that too, and maybe help anyone out there that has been wondering, like, where do I get my crystals?
Yeah.
Is this a real crystal at Target? Like, things like that.
Oh yeah, guys, don't buy those. So I always say, well, here's the thing, guys. Intuition is always key. When it comes to crystals, when it comes to all this stuff, you might be drawn to crystals, or you might say, that's not for me right now, you know, and you might find something else like a mala necklace, and you might think, even though that's crystals, maybe it has wood beads on it, you might think, wow, that's really pretty. I think I want that. And you go with that energy, because it's your intuition saying you actually need this. And sometimes people can pick up on yours too. Like, I have a mallet in my hand right now that somebody made for me, and it's all about self-love. And I was like, man, you knew what I needed, girl. Like, she gave it to me. She made it for me. But yeah, don't generally, like I say, like the Target kind of, because I know they have some cool stuff. Those are more like, you know, for like decorating purposes.
Like, they have those like crystal lamps at the stores.
Yeah, I mean, I think salt lamps are good regardless. Definitely, because it's a very purposeful thing. It's literally for purifying your air. Like, it's pretty straightforward. If you feel like there's a crystal that's calling your name at a store like that, by all means, go get it. But give it some love after, because it's been through quite a trip. Just, you know, hold it and kind of like send it love. And when you get a crystal, what you do is you just ask, you know, that it return to its original state, and that it be of the best use for everyone involved. That's you who is using it, that's everybody around you, that's the whole universe. So it's a way to like get the crystal to like balance back out if it's been through a big like trip, like you know, you find it at Home Goods. Like I bought a selenite lamp at Home Goods and I was like, oh, you've been beat up, girl. And I was like, okay, let me send you some love, you know? But where you can generally find this stuff is you probably have a shop in your town that you don't even know that sells this stuff. So do a little bit of research. Generally, there are import stores in your like mom and pop import stores. They usually have crystals. They usually have singing bowls. They usually have that type of stuff. You can buy stuff. Etsy has a ton of crystal shops right now. Find somebody that you vibe with and buy from them, like establish a relationship with them. There are all sorts of groups. There are people that you can find through like groups. There's groups on Facebook, and you can find people that actually go to the mines and they mine. Like I used to sell crystals and I had built like relationships with people that mine. I tried mining. I wasn't super great at it. I was like, this is harder than I thought, you know? I thought like it was going to be this, like, I'm a miner now. I'm going to be so cool. And it was just a very sad experience. I was like, yep, definitely not cut out for this. But generally, if you look in your town, you probably have a place. It would fall under like metaphysical, like a metaphysical shop. So if you Google like metaphysical shop, like in your area, you can probably find something like that. Okay. Also antique shops. Antique shops, there's always like at least like one, like I don't know if you have anything nearby you that has like those booth type antique shops. There's always like one that just has crystals in it. I always find that like everywhere I go, there's always like a little area that has just crystals, because aside from the metaphysical thing, like crystals are something people collect. Like amethyst, you can buy an amethyst and get it in a ring. It's a collectible thing. So there are people that they're called like lapidary, you know, specialists. Like they collect specimens. They don't even call them crystals, specimens.
Oh.
And they're rock collectors.
Well, that's pretty cool, because I didn't, yeah. I mean, I didn't really know the right answer for that one too, because I had people ask me that, and I'm like, well, you know, that's a good question. If y'all need like recommendations, you can always just find me and send me a message, and I'll point you in the right direction. There are some good Etsy shops that I've purchased stuff from before, but there's a specific guy that I like to get my stuff from, and his name's Ezra, and he's amazing. So I would probably point anybody to him. He always has good stuff. I've got I can't say most. I have way too many crystals from him. But every time I like see his stuff, I end up spending like $200. So I just, you know what? He's like an amazing person. So it's like, you know, it's just spread the love, you know, like I want him to have a business that is able to support him and his family and all that kind of stuff. So I buy from him, you know. Oh, cool. So it's all about kind of like that, you know, spreading the love a little bit. And but yeah, generally a metaphysical shop, an antique shop, you can sometimes find stuff at. I'm trying to think of where else. You would be surprised. You have places locally that are available. Oh yeah, no, I mean I probably have a ton around here.
Yoga studios. Yeah. Some of them sell crystals, you know.
Yeah, well that was a cool question to ask. Great response. So what else can we talk about the spiritual side?
Oh man,
I know it's like a big topic, but it's something that I feel like a lot of people, like, you either never talked about it before or you have talked about it. Like there is no middle ground. Like there's either the ones that are really in tune with it or they have no freaking idea about it. One of the things that comes to mind has to do with the fact that, like, manifesting, that is something that I used to think was a big woo-woo. And I had to say that I was somebody that operated from like 99.8%, maybe more than that, maybe 100% masculine side. I was not in tune with my feminine side. At least I didn't think I was. I was operating from a very professional side at the time. Like, I didn't want to get vulnerable. I didn't want to bring that peace into my business. And I was noticing in my business that I would have like a little success here and there and big like dry spells, basically, you know, where nothing's going on. And then I ended up taking my big break, and I brought back, like, after going on vacation and getting in touch with my feminine side, I ended up like rebranding my business and bringing a lot more vulnerability into my business. Like I started to be more open about my actual story, my past, like things that, and like these are things that I used to be like embarrassed to talk about, things that would maybe upset others if I brought it up, and embarrass different family members if I said stuff about me, you know? And I didn't want to do that before. I mean, yes, it was a little scary, but at the same time, I just felt like it wasn't professional to be like, here's all the shitty things that have happened to me. And I noticed as soon as I rebranded my business and did, you know, the Wanderpreneurs, Wander Less, Wander More, and it talked about my actual struggles throughout my life, and I started to be more human and get that vulnerable state, I started to really create success, and my business started taking off and up. And then I quit my job as my mortgage processor and was like full speed ahead because I had found it somehow. I didn't even know I found it. But what would you say for somebody that is still on the fence? Maybe they're listening to this, or, you know, eventually we'll find it. And what would you tell them, like how to, I mean, so in the beginning, I would be like, I need to work on manifesting, but let's be honest, like I was operating from masculine and I didn't know what the heck, like really what to do. And I knew that it was all woo-woo kind of stuff. And I guess I didn't really believe in it either. And I think that's a big key. But what would you do to help somebody get into that state of mind?
Okay. So for somebody that's wanting that type of a thing, right? Like, and when it comes to like spiritual walk, like everybody gets to where they get to in their own time, right? So like you said, like you came from this like place where you're like, no, like what is that? That's weird. And so did I, right? But your life circumstances changed, and then it's almost like spirituality is waking something up within yourself that you've already had, you just didn't know was there. So it's just like uncovering, like your life experiences started to uncover some of those things, and you're like, actually, I think I know what to do, and I think I know this intuitively, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the best things for manifesting is just simply to set an intention. So you want to bring something into your life, set an intention to do so, write it down, write an intention to do so. You know, like I want, and I do this all the time, you know, when I'm wanting people, say I want 5 people in my course, I write on a piece of paper, I want 5 people in my course. Here are their names, right? Like I get specific because your intention is asking for something to come towards you. And the second most important part of that is believing, right? Absolutely. Without a doubt, you believe that you're going to get 5 people. Like you said, I have a range 5 to 8 people. You got 7 people, right? You believed and you knew your value, and you put an intention out there that didn't have any doubt in it. Like I don't have any doubt because I know that what I'm doing is going to serve somebody and it is going to change their lives, right? So it's setting an intention. Literally, this is as simple bare bones manifestation as you can possibly get.
And for all you masculine energy, she said intentions, not goals. She didn't say
not goals. Absolutely, yes. Intentions. That means that it's not, I checked this off my list, right? Intentions can shift based on what is actually going to be of the best good for you. So you may say, I want 5 people in my course. You might get 3. And then you say, thank you, universe. Thank you for 3. You know, there's that kind of relationship of I'm putting this out there and I know that it's going to come back to me. But even if it doesn't in the way that I want it to look, I know it's for my greatest good. And you have gratitude for that. So set an intention, write it down. You know, look at it, wake up every morning, look at it, look at what that intention is. And every morning, design up a little bit more of it in your head. You know, one day it's, I want 5 people in my class or my course, you know, and you look at it. Okay, I want that 5. I see their faces. Okay. The next day, now I got Sally and Jimmy and Bobby and, you know, Sue, and you know their names, right? You designed up their names. Even if it's not their names when they really sign up, you see them, you see their faces, you know their names. Next morning, I want 5 people in my class. What does it look like when I'm teaching? What does it feel like when I'm teaching?
Yeah, so getting the power of visualizing.
Yes, visualization is going to create momentum, right?
So those masculine people bring in that detail part of your masculine energy.
Exactly. If you're like a detail person, that's the part, you know, you're like into it. You're like, oh my gosh, the walls are yellow. And, you know.
And I got to say, I think that really helped me whenever I started to get into it because I was so masculine. it was like detail after detail after detail. Then
Yeah.
before I knew it, I could probably talk like hours about whatever I was creating, because I knew, like, I could picture it as if it was a movie. I could like press play.
Exactly. And that's what it should be, because it's almost like when you're going to have moments of doubt in your business, guys. Like, I hate to break this to you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're not going to like live in this place where like, you know, everything's perfect. We're humans, right?
Not vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we literally are always going to have that place where that fear and doubt comes in. And usually that fear and doubt is a story that we have somebody created, or we created about ourselves because somebody did something, right? Say it was like when you were little and your teacher said to you, Jen, you're never going to be an artist. This actually happened to me. True story. I was like in like first grade painting, and my teacher was like, you can't paint inside the lines. You're never going to be an artist. And I was like, oh God, you know, obviously you're little, that freaking sucks to hear, you know? So I created this story around that said, I'm never going to fit in. So now every time I go back to that fear or doubt based place, I say, I'm never going to fit in. But here's where you get the power back to move back into manifestation. Play a new story. I'm not playing that script of I don't fit in, or I'm, you know, never going to be such and such. I'm not playing it. Guess what I'm going to bring in? That story that I just visualized to a T. I saw 5 people. I saw Jimmy, Bobby, Susie, whatever.
I can tell you from upstate New York. Those are some.
Yeah, Jimmy, Bobby, Susie. You know, it's always Jimmy, Bobby, Susie. Freddie, it's another one I like to use. My grandfather's name was Fred, and every time he called us on the phone, he was like this crotchety old man, but like the most like lovable person underneath that. He would like rattle off like 10 names on the phone before getting to yours. He'd be like, who am I talking to? Is this Teddy, Jimmy, Bobby, Susie? So now we all do it. It's like a family thing now. But so anyways, so you get onto this story that you've created in your head. And when you have those moments of fear and doubt, that vibration is not something you want to keep. So you quickly switch to the new reel of the new movie, right? The new visualization that you've created, which is these people in your class. This is what I'm sending out to the universe. This is my intention. And it is literally like the best advice I could give you is when you get into that place of fear and doubt, because it's going to happen, or you get too much into your head, or you're being too masculine, or you're too feminine, switch the script really quick.
I love that. Yeah. So like for me, I was coming from a place that I thought I wasn't good enough.
Yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. Like I wasn't good enough. There was no way they were going to invest that much money into me because I wasn't good enough. And that's just kind of what I kept telling myself until I was like, you know what, Christy, no more. Like, this is just BS. Like, you can do this. Mm-hmm. People tell you, you know what you're talking about. You've helped so many other people. It's time you just make it happen. Like, let's have a big launch. Like, let's make money this month. And then that's what happened this January. I had my $20,000 launch. And it all had to do with changing the story and really thinking and visualizing it. Like, I gotta say, like, people always say, write it down, journal, things like that. I'm not.
Yeah, if that doesn't work for you, don't do it.
Yeah. So instead, I would just be talking to myself. So I'm like the crazy person on the way to the gym in the morning without the radio, just going, all right, what do we want today, Christy? This is what we're gonna do. This is what my mastermind's gonna have. This is who's gonna be in it. I'm gonna have somebody in there that has this kind of business because I know I can help them with this and that and that. And like, the whole way there, I'd be talking to myself. Then I'd be working out, doing that kind of stuff. And then I'd get back in the car, and on my way home, I'd be like, okay, now let's talk about our money beliefs.
Yes, absolutely though. And you know what? Like, that communication part is actually really hard for a lot of people to do, which is why I say journaling, because most people are like, that's tangible. You know, I have a journal in my hand and I can write. But if you can voice it, now it's a whole nother ball game. It's projecting.
I literally, like, that's my thing now in the morning. And so on the weekends now, like, Brad and I will still go to the gym. And Brad's my husband, for those that don't know that, if I mention his name. And he's like, all right, we're going. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of bummed. Like, I wish I was in my car because I can't chance myself now. Like, you're going to think I'm weird.
Do it anyway.
Right. You know? I'll talk to him like, this is what I'm doing. And he's like, okay, like, you're crazy. Like, these are some big goals. I'm like, yeah. So in February, we are going to make $25,000. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to get 3 new one-on-one clients at this price. I have this cool special going on for passive income. I'm doing this. And like, I'm a numbers girl because I mean, I came from the masculine side. So I like all that logistic stuff and knowing to the dime, penny, whatever you want to say. Like, I like knowing numbers. So I'm like telling him like, yeah, but we're going to make this amount of money from this course, this amount from this course. This is my clients for this. I'm going to do this and this. And he's like, alrighty. And then like the next week, I'm like, yeah, so we filled up this, we got this going, we are almost there. And he's like, it's just you, Christy. I'm like, no, me and my guardian angels around me. Like,
Yeah.
you got this. I'm like, you're just listening in, okay? If you want to talk too, you can talk to us. And he's like, I knew you were kind of crazy, but maybe you are a little bit more crazy. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good thing. I don't want to be normal. And in the past, like if you knew my past story and growing up and I had my learning disability where I was in special ed for 2 years. And my number one thing that I always wanted to be was normal.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be normal. I didn't like to be different. I wanted to be just like everybody else. And then it's funny because then now I'm like, I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be the extraordinary that like 1% in life that actually goes after their intuition and follows their heart and pursues their dreams and lives out that lifestyle,
It's amazing what happens when you can switch that to something. What you often find is that everything is just a flip of a coin. You have this on one side and this on the other side. And if you just flip the coin, like everything will come together. Like you said, I always wanted to be just like everybody else, but then I found out like I was unique and that was my strength. And the same thing with me. Like I wanted to fit in. I don't want to fit in. I'm sorry. I don't want to fit in.
You're being fine now.
Yeah. And like, I'm fine. Like I'll find those people that I vibe with. And then if I don't, that's okay. That's okay. So everything's always at a flip of a coin, it's like fear. And then you get confidence. It's just on the other side of the coin. Flip it over, don't wait.
I love that. That is so true. That it's just a flip of the coin. And and it's a lot of things I feel like come from our childhood and our teenage years and stuff like that. And as we grow older and, go throughout our life, everything that we didn't really like process or take control of back then, it just cycles into our life. So like the feeling of not being good enough and not being able to make enough, like that came in a long time ago. Obviously, like not feeling good enough. Obviously that had to do with like friends. I mean, I have to say, like I wasn't the popular girl at school. I mean, I was a cheerleader. I showed lambs for the FFA, and things like that. But like there's those cliques and stuff, and I always felt like I didn't belong to a certain clique. It always had to do with like I could go to this group, but I could go to this group. I could go to this kind of group. And I mean, I had friends, but I didn't feel like I had that clique. Like I didn't have my own little clique. And so I never felt like I fit in, and I didn't really feel good enough, and I didn't know, like that kind of stuff. And then as I grew, that kind of cycled back in, and then I had to really like get in the moment and process it. Just like I recently, like my parents got a divorce whenever I was 15. I'm 24 now. I just processed it. Like that's what helps me reach my financial goals, because I had a lot of shit that was built in because I never processed it back then, because I decided to grow up in that moment and be kind of like the control freak. Like I want to make sure that everyone's happy, like my brother and sister, and put myself in that place to make sure that they aren't hurt. And at that time, I wanted to be the strong one. So I just put my feelings away. And that's where I grew my masculine energy and got lost with my feminine side. And when I processed all that, I was able to find my feminine side. And I was able to really up-level my business and up-level my life and to find actual happiness. Because there's times in our lives where, like, you just don't feel aligned. Like, you don't even feel like yourself. And you don't even know who the hell you are. Like, you have no idea what it is, but you know something's not right. And that was like my big thing. Like I had to really process a lot of stuff because it just kept coming back in and coming back in. And
well, what happens is like with this, the story that you kind of create, you actually create self-fulfilling prophecies, which is why it cycles back through. You actually do things when you believe that story to support the story. You're making yourself like the victim, right? So you cycle back through it because every time you get that one trigger, right? That one trigger happens. Somebody says something to you and you go back to that place when you were, you know, Jenn in first grade, where the teacher told you, you'll never, you know, basically fit in. And you go back to that story, and now something somebody did triggers that, right? And you literally keep supporting that story until you realize, hey, I have a choice. I'm not living from that place. I'm creating a new script, and my script says this. Then you have the power back, right? So you'll continue to cycle through that script continually and actually make choices to support that until you have the awareness to move forward. And you found awareness, right? You said, actually, I realized that I didn't process that. That was still there. And I'm processing that because I don't want that anymore. I know that's a lie, and I'm not choosing it. I'm not choosing to listen to the lie and to support the lie and feed the lie. I'm starving the lie now, right?
Yeah.
So,
and
yes, perpetual things will happen where we're just circling through the story more and more and more until we have awareness to choose.
And by processing it, guys, I mean like getting in that moment. Like I had to put myself in the place that I'm 15 again. I just sat through my parents telling us that we were going to get, like our family was breaking up. That's how I took it. And then my dad was rushed to the ER for having an anxiety attack. My brother and sister for being crazy. The doctor wouldn't let my mom in the hospital because of the divorce thing. So I had to be the one that went in to go see what was going on. Did my dad just have a heart attack? Like all that stuff. And it happened so fast that I never processed it. I just shut down, bottled it all up, and carried it for so long. And when by processing, I like had to get in that moment. I felt it. I freaking cried. Like a lot of different emotions went on, and then that was kind of like my breakthrough. And that's what we mean by processing it, not just like thinking like, oh yeah, this is where I got it and that was my point of life. Like I mean actually feeling it and going back in time.
Put yourself in there and literally remember everything you felt, feel it, and then choose. Exactly.
Yeah, no, so that's what processing is, not just thinking about it, actually being in that state of mind. Yeah, so I think that was like a big breakthrough for me, and realizing that like I was from that place. Like my mom was the one that asked for the divorce, and so I had all these like things against her, and that's why I didn't want to be in my feminine energy, because I was upset with my feminine side in my real life. That's why my sister and I always got in fights too, because I just didn't want to deal with girls. And then that's why in high school and stuff like that, like I didn't want to hang out with really any girls. Like I had a lot of guy friends. And I always wanted to be on the masculine side. And I really had to like take that apart and like figure it out. Like, okay, where did this come from? Like, come on, Christy. Like you used to play dress up. You used to do things like this. Where did you get this masculine side to you? And then I was like, boom, right Mommy there. Yeah, so that's what it was.
It's always one, you know. They all screw us up somehow, but you know,
I love my parents. And and this was like a what do you call it? Like it wasn't conscious. It wasn't something that was like subconscious. It was something going on that I didn't really realize was going on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it's kind of hard to get into that state of mind, but you got to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And how would you tell someone to pick up on a subconscious thing that's going on? Do you know? I don't even know how to explain that.
Start to be aware of what you do throughout the day. Because you'll realize if you take, you know, it's like survey your body throughout the day. What things tick you off a lot, right? You're in the car and you're driving, you're like, oh my gosh. Like when you start picking up on what you're doing throughout the day, you can start to realize like, hey, maybe there's something going on in this area. Just survey throughout the day. How am I feeling right now? What am I doing? Where am I acting from? You know, what do I feel repulsed by? What do I actively want to push away? Right? So like, you know, for me, when I get into my retreat mode, which is like after I've done so much work, right? I get into retreat mode. In retreat mode, Jen is like, I don't want to be near anybody. You got to leave me alone, right? So I realized that repulsion towards people in general, when I'm in that mode, is me feeding that story of I don't fit in, right?
Yeah.
So start to be really aware of what it is that you're doing and why, and then say, is that me, or is that something else? You know, does Jen really not like to be around people, or is there something else going on there? You know what I mean? So just take a survey. Just start to, the more that you're aware, the more that you're aware. Right?
Yeah, no, I love that. Like triggers and even like mindless things. Like,
oh yeah,
I have to say my nutrition has gotten so much better because I was such a mindless eater, or like carefree. Like, you know, my husband last night was eating cookies because, I mean, he's like works out a lot and has to have all this protein. He's eating like butter cookies, that kind of stuff. And normally I'd want to be a snacker and that kind of stuff. And I had to like think about it, like, wait, I'm not even hungry. Why do you even want this?
Exactly.
Like you just want something in your mouth to taste, obviously. Like, you don't actually need to eat this cookie. Like, let's think about our goals for a minute, Christy. And so I didn't eat them, but in the past I would have like probably ate half the box, you know?
Yeah, it's bringing more mindfulness into what you're doing.
Yeah, like, self-awareness. I love that, because self-awareness is something that so many of us don't pay attention to.
And that's the simplest place to start. Just be mindful. Like, before you even think about manifestation and crystals and setting an intention, just be mindful. Because then you're going to know what intention to set. What's going to feed a story and what's not going to feed a story, right?
Yeah, and no, that is so true. And so most of the time we're always aware with others. I mean, let's think about your significant other. You know every little thing that ticks you off, what he or she does. You know everything that your kids do that, you know, you love and what you hate them doing, and just other people in life too. So let's take a moment and stop focusing on others and focus on ourselves for once.
Yeah, like
that's something that we don't do, especially as women, because we like to be the control freaks and, you know, control the outcome for everything, have everything in line, because that's in our nature. Like, we want to do that. We want to make sure everyone feels good. They're happy. Everything's set. Everything's good. And I mean, it's something that we don't do. Like, we never pay attention to ourselves. Yeah. We don't. And so being self-aware will help you get on the right track to finding your harmony, your success, your path to success, future, whatever you want to say. But yeah, I love how we have ended this show on self-awareness, because this is something that
everybody
is something that you need. Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely something that is blind to everybody, because we do a lot of mindless things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that would probably be it. I've never thought of it, but that would probably be what has transformed my outcome on certain things and pushed forward in my business, was definitely self-awareness. And I didn't even see it until you said it. So yeah, Jen, do you have anything else to say before we end the show?
Oh man, I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I think, you know, just that mindfulness, bring that mindfulness into everything you do, guys, and things will kind of snap into place. It's moving away from that place of just like being so quick, you know, like we're so quick to, you know, do. It's like, you know, even when we're in yoga, we're thinking about like, what am I going to buy at the grocery store?
Oh yeah, no, I think about that throughout my workout.
Be where you are. Be where you are and see how it feels.
I love that. Well, before we end the show, something I always ask people is to tell us about some kind of travel memory, whether it's something that was like crazy that happened, maybe it was like the worst vacation ever, or a really cool, awesome one, or anything. Like, I love to talk about travel, so we got to bring that part into all of our shows. So tell us something crazy or cool.
Yeah. So one of the best trips I ever went on, I love to travel. I'm a huge travel person. I've always loved planes. Even when I was a little kid, I was like, yay, let's go somewhere. You know, I don't care where we're going. It could be like, you know, the most lame place, and I'd be excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I like looking out the window when I'm up in the air. You know, it's really that simple. But we went to Hawaii, and it was awesome. And we were surfing. And I always had this dream of being like a pro surfer, you know, like, ooh, Jen's gonna be a surfer. And like, that's like my dream realm, you know? And I'm like, I'm gonna be so good at surfing. I was awful, just terrible. But I got up a few times. It was really great. And so the instructor was like, hey, there's sea turtles here. Like, I've never seen a sea turtle. I've been wanting to see one since I was a kid, because we used to go to Cape Cod every summer when I was little. And they always like had the sign, which is like, if you see a sea turtle, call this number, because, you know, they're endangered and everything. So they're like, the sea turtles are everywhere. And I'm like, I don't see them. What is going on? Where are the sea turtles, you know? And so finally we get done surfing, and my husband's like, Jen, you got to come over here right now. And I was like, what is going on? And there was a sea turtle, huge, like probably, I don't even know, I'm 5 something. And this thing was like huge. It was like literally as big as me. And it was just laying in the sun on the beach, just basking in the sun and in the, you know, sand, and just like loving life. And I was like, oh, this is the coolest experience of my life. Like, freaking sea turtle right there. Like, we were just sitting by it. Like, he's like looking at us like he's our buddy, you know? So it was really freaking cool. And then, you know, Hawaii is just awesome in general. So aside from just the sea turtle, which was the highlight of my trip, you know, Hawaii is amazing. And we actually got to swim with sea turtles after that, but it was like that close encounter, you know, like when they're swimming and stuff, they kind of like fly by you, but they don't really like engage. Like, this one was like right there. Like, we were sitting with him like he was our friend. So
I love that. Whenever I was little, I used to collect sea turtles, like
oh, that's awesome.
Not real sea turtles, but
yeah, but like little
yeah, like all the time. Like, I would see a turtle and I'd want it, and then I had a pet turtle and it ran away. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, guys. And turtles are not slow. Okay, I don't know who came up with that.
Oh,
they can be
fast.
Be fast when they want to be fast. And my
sure.
turtle literally ran away. I was outside cleaning the aquarium, and I put him in the yard as I'm cleaning it, and I turned around. The sucker was gone. Who knows what happened? But he's, you know, maybe he's living a awesome life in a pond somewhere.
Totally.
Or found the river here.
Yeah.
But yeah, my turtle ran away. That's something that I haven't said on a podcast show yet. So that's a new fact. Christy had a pet turtle and it ran away. And like I'm telling y'all, they are fast. I'm not some kind of like slow person that couldn't catch it. I just didn't see where it went, because that's how fast it went. Whenever I was in my own world cleaning the aquarium, I don't know, in the 5th grade or something. So what is that, like 11, 12?
Something like that,
know,
yeah.
Something like that. So he got away. And his name was Squirtle off of Finding Nemo. That was like the time Finding Nemo came out. And he was like a water one. And he was probably, I don't know, he was probably like,
oh wow,
I don't know how to, so we're FaceTiming right now, and I know you can't see our face, but he was a big size, probably like
the size of a head.
Yeah, the size of a head. I was about to say that as I'm looking at my head. So good. But yeah, no, I love that memory about Hawaii and things like that. So what about New York? If anyone's traveling up to New York, what would you say is something cool to do besides New York City? Because like everyone talks about New York City, but there's so much more. Like, New York City is a city.
Go upstate. If you don't want to be in the city, come up by me, which is like the Finger Lakes. And there's tons of wineries everywhere. Like, go and, you know, rent like you can get like buses. There's like a bunch of different lakes. And literally all of the lakes have wineries like surrounding the whole lake. It is a fun day.
I love that.
Time. Yeah. And if you're not into wine, like, just go to the lake and like, you know, rent a house. There's Keuka Lake. And that's the one we go to like every summer. It's beautiful.
Love that. I didn't even know there was wineries up there.
Oh,
like,
tons.
Like, I hear about them on the West Coast. We have them here in the Hill Country.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
it's like hilly, like the Adirondacks are up here, so it's hilly. It's not like city, you know. It's like hilly and rolling hills and like, you know, little towns, like, you know, that type of thing.
Well, cool. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hope everyone learns something new and gets in touch with their feminine or masculine side so they can find that harmony, and to definitely remember how to find crystals and how to, you know, be more self-aware about yourself and your surroundings and how it affects you. So without further ado, I will see you on the next show, and thanks again, Jen, and I'll talk to you again. And everyone else, if you would like to reach out to Jen, I'm going to have a link underneath this podcast show. But Jen, do you also want to tell people where to find you?
Yeah, you can find me at soulfilledyogi.com and on Instagram too, Soulfilled Yogi. I'm Soulfilled Yogi everywhere.
So a lot of followers on Instagram. It's her spot.
I don't even like look at the numbers. I just like I put on there what I feel, and hopefully people vibe with it. You know, the right people always come.
Well, it's okay. I'm a numbers girl, so she has a lot of followers. You can go add to. But anyways, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Have a great day and wonder less so you can wonder more.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.